And also to double check that we're actually live. Let's see. We are. Oh, baby, we're live. Okay, cool. Cool. Guys, welcome to Wolf Crypto. We've been on Spaces all morning, and here we are on video stream now. We got Bitsofwealth in the house. I mean, he's been in the Spaces for a long time now. He's a beast of a trader. Love having him in the Spaces, and now we're going to have him on stream for a pseudo video version of him. You're getting a little bit of action, some movement and action from Bitsofwealth on video stream, and we've also got Dom, who's recently been in a few of the Spaces, and we connected really well. And I like the way he thinks about trading and his approach to the markets. And I was like, yo, let's jump on stream. Let's get a couple people together. And, Bits had talked about, pairing up coins against Solana and, drawing some conclusions there. I also want to talk about some US stable coins conversation because I feel like Bits knows a lot about that. And a lot of people don't understand why we would even bother pulling up charts with stable coins. And then there's a third point that I can't remember that Dom is going to that I wanted to ask Dom about. So we'll kind of just jump into the conversation, I guess. But what's up, guys? How's it going? How's it going, Bits?
What's up? Good to be back again. Let's
get it. What's up, Dom?
Not too much. Pretty crazy day out there, but hopefully we could break it down pretty well.
Yes, sir. It's funny running through the intros after we've been talking for like 5 or 10 minutes right offline 2 seconds ago. But yeah, man. So first off, I'd love to pull up Bits' actually, you know what? Let's go to Bits' chart real quick. Maybe we'll start with just go with whichever one you want to go with, Bits. Actually, would you like to talk about Solana or the stablecoin conversation first? Which makes more sense, do you think?
I think if maybe we start in with kind of like a macro view first, and maybe even look at like total charts and stuff like that.
Let's do it.
It'll kind of give some perspective, but these are like, this is one of the layouts that I have, and it's basically a total crypto market cap, total 2, which excludes Bitcoin, total 3, which excludes BTC and ETH, and then you have your others, which excludes your top 10. And of course, you could build, custom versions of these that exclude anything you wanted, to be honest, or added in anything else. But these are kind of like the pulse of the market. I want to say it's been about a week now, maybe close to a week. I actually posted a screenshot of the 4 of these charts like this in this exact layout. And I simply put one word on it, which was confluence, because they don't always move together. Sometimes, for example, total 1 can be leading as BTC is leading, and then ETH hasn't caught up. So you're seeing total 2 lag a little bit. And if alts aren't moving, you'll see total 3 or others stay behind quite a bit. But they were all near the top of this channel that on some of these, I actually modified the channel now to capture this latest high, because when I first posted, I wasn't sure if this was going to be the high or not, but I was grabbing a prior high, much like I am here in this one, right? What it's basically was showing is just that some of these were nearing a range where maybe it was worth having a little bit of caution, or at least considering, de-risking a little bit. And sure enough, it struggled a little bit, and it gave us that pullback. So been kind of watching this. What's I think interesting from like a high level view is that, really total 1 is the only one that's actually in price discovery because of Bitcoin, right? Total 2 has not even gotten to the prior all-time high at 1.7 trillion or so. So we still have not broken out in that sense, and it actually hasn't broken out from this high time frame resistance. I mean, we were up above it a little bit, but I don't like, my style of trading is not really a hard line. Even though I'll draw these trend lines, it's more of like a fluid zone around it, plus or minus, right? And so that's why I like to do these horizontal zones, because I know that even though price is somewhere up here near this zone, it doesn't mean it's necessarily broken it, doesn't mean it's rejected it. Like, you're watching for structure, you're watching for so many things to happen near or in these zones, right? So this one rejected. Total 3, same thing, kind of had like a rejection at the prior all-time high. This one was interesting. This one came up, had a couple wicks above it and rejected, and then others still has not gotten above that. So all in all, I guess what I'm trying to say is we were seeing a little bit of a slowdown in some of the momentum over like the last week or so. And there were some clues there, along with looking at this. Here, let me go back a little bit. Let me see if it'll pull up the old chart. Yeah. Along with looking at this stable coin dominance. So what I have here is it's the same thing as like looking at USDT dominance alone, but I've actually paired USDC dominance in here, and I've also thrown in DAI dominance as well, because DAI is one of the big ones on the ETH ecosystem. But you had this like multi-year trend line going back from 2018, depending on some charts. If you can pull more history, it'll give you more history. But 18, 19, certainly there's some type of bottom trend support here. And we were at it in March, which was of no surprise. That's when we kind of locally topped. And then we came back to it, and we've kind of been hanging out here since November. And so I've been watching this, and yes, you can make the argument that it broke this trend line, but going back to what I just said a little while ago is I don't think of trend lines as like these hard lines that if you're above it, you're good, and if you're below it, you're bad, or vice versa. It's more or less a zone. It's telling you in this region, pay attention, right? And that's also why I put this green support zone here, because it was saying like, look, okay, if you zoom in, we still could be bouncing here. There was still an opportunity. We were below the yellow lines, but you could have found a bounce. And so I was kind of looking for this structure to change. And if you notice, you did kind of get a shift in structure here, where you were making lower highs and lower lows, and then you had a higher low here for the first time last week. We're kind of putting that in, I believe, or actually it was over the weekend, I believe we were putting this in. So no real surprise that we got this impulse up. But the question is, was this just a fake out of that stablecoin dominance, and is it going to continue lower? Which it certainly could, right? Was that just like a way to fake out, grab liquidity from the market, and then do we continue lower, which is good for crypto assets? It'll mean we'll continue the pump. Yep. But if this starts trending up, that's not going to be good, because that indicates that money's moving into stable coins as opposed to staying on the risk on crypto assets. So,
I just actually transferred or swapped some Solana or some Ethereum for stablecoin, just because I'm heavily allocated. I'm plenty allocated, so I'm gonna send some out, as dips keep happening and stuff. But I'm like, okay, I want to keep some dry powder here in case we have a giga down, for the downside.
Yeah, and we're at that level right now where we really need to be watching, I think, more than trying to jump to conclusions. We need to be watching the total charts. We need to be watching the stablecoin dominance. We need to be watching what BTC is going to do in and around these levels. There's other things you can look at, like the dollar. If the dollar continues rallying higher, it's probably not going to be good. We are seeing some volatility from the VIX start to come down. This is a good one here, Cade. The volatility index, the VIX. When this thing pumps big green candles, it's not good. We have massive red days. You can see back here in August, you got a massive VIX pump. This was not a good day for crypto. Yeah, big correction. You want to see the
do you
VIX
use that one at all? Do you use the VS? Do you call it bits?
It's VIX, VIX. Yeah, it's the volatility index.
Dom, do you use this at all in your in some of your thesis and analysis?
I definitely keep eyes on it, depending on the environment we're in. And I think right now it's important to do so, as Bit says. It's rare that it spikes heavy, but the last time it happened in August, that did mark a big bottom. So
wow, okay, interesting.
Yeah, so there's I think there's a lot of, and these are all things you can look outside of crypto, because we can get really caught up in just looking at the total charts, which is internal to crypto, the stablecoin dominance, which is internal to crypto, individual charts, which is internal to crypto. But these are kind of like macro indicators outside of crypto that tell us more or less the health of the economy, along with like pulling up, the SPY or NASDAQ or something else. So, but I like to look at like gold and silver as well, kind of give me a feel for if people are risk on, or if they're going to safety, or what they're trying to do at that.
How do you draw the conclusion there with like when you're looking at like how do gold and silver move? Do they move together? Is it kind of like looking at Bitcoin and Ethereum, or is it not like the same kind of thing?
They do tend to move for the most part together, although there is a ratio between gold and silver that the gold and silver bugs like to look at. And it helps them determine when gold is overvalued versus when it's undervalued compared to silver, and vice versa, right? There's opportunities if you look at the ratio of these two. to decide when maybe you should be allocating more towards silver versus gold. So you can definitely pair these against each other and pull that ratio. But yeah, I tend to find that, although BTC has moments when it's following gold and it kind of moves similar to gold, they don't tend to do it at the same time, meaning gold is usually moving first while BTC is sideways or correcting a little bit, and then it'll kind of play catch up as gold decides to take a breather. And that's because crypto still moves more with equities than it does with commodities. So until we see that change, these can be an indicator that, something's moving. If this starts moving really strong, I suspect equities won't be doing that well. So, and by that metric, crypto wouldn't as well. Yeah, by that measure.
Dang. Okay, that was cool. Let's I want to jump over to Dom's screen. Dom, maybe we can you can walk through some of the stuff you're looking at and how you kind of go about that on your screen. So cool. I was just saying to Dom, I can't remember if you were in the stream yet or not, but I was like, it's like looking at someone's living room, but like on the charts, like someone's internal digital home of looking at these charts. I'm getting like an inside look. So I appreciate both you guys sharing. And then after Dom goes with this, we'll dive into some Solana talk. Cool. I already had someone quote tweets and say they're spreading FUD about Solana because we titled it Solana's not going to pump. So anyways, I'm excited to get into it. So Dom, would love to get some of your thoughts and how you look at these markets and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just wanted to start off by saying I found something today that is pretty interesting. The left chart here is the total crypto market cap from 2018 to 2020. And we had basically a retest of the previous all-time high, as we can see here. This happened in almost the same time, about January 2021. So, a little month, about a month farther than where we're at now, but pretty in line. And if you see the pullback we just had today actually looks identical to what happened there. So, something I look for, it's obviously a super basic concept to retest, but it does work well on the high time frame. Big retests are often big turning points. So I posted this today. People loved it. And I just wanted to start by showing this, that.
What about Bitcoin dominance? Do you know anything about that? Like what percentage of this total crypto market cap was led by Bitcoin?
I guess it's hard to say at this point. We could always lay over the Bitcoin dominance on here, and you could kind of look at, where it was. Right when that retest happened was right after that first pull down on Bitcoin dominance. So if we look right now, it actually lines up pretty well. Kind of the same concept that happened. Our first pull down happened right after we kind of broke that all-time high. So this is something I'm watching very closely, because in my eyes, this to me looks like a, very identical setup. And
that is very similar. Yeah.
Wow.
And to put it simply, I think that the market shouldn't go much lower than it did today if this trend is going to continue in the short term, meaning Q1. And after seeing something like this that's so clear cut, I don't like the idea of breaking a previous high and then losing it. We can look at that as some people call that a some people call that a trap. So just in the short term, I'm definitely keeping close eyes on kind of these two charts here. Mainly, obviously, this one right now. This is about the 92K area for Bitcoin. So, it's definitely something I'm keeping my close eyes on. So I just wanted to start off with that.
It's a great chart.
But yeah, beyond that, there's I guess I could go over a lot of different things. But as Bit said, I think right now it is pretty important to be looking at the stock market. And for me, I like to look at the NASDAQ. I think the NAS 100 is super in line with Bitcoin and crypto right now, just because tech is kind of the leader in the world,
Yep.
And for me, trends, I look at them lightly, but sometimes they work very well. And I actually had these trends drawn from back in August. And when we lost this, I was very, very, keeping very close eyes. And then obviously we recovered it pretty well. But kind of the pullback we had this, over the last few days, it kind of touched that trend line perfectly. And if anyone's curious, we could lay over Bitcoin and we could see that the NASDAQ and Bitcoin are pretty much in lockstep right now. So it's interesting to see they both bottomed at, about 7 a.m. today. Both had bounces up. So just in the short term, I'm definitely keeping eyes on the stock market. Sometimes I'll ignore it, but for right now, I think it's important to do so. But yeah, beyond that, I guess, you know, if you want to get into Sol, or if there's anything else, Cade, you wanted me to touch on, I definitely just wanted to show that total crypto
Dude,
market cap.
yeah, that was a super interesting chart because that would mean I should not be converting anything to staples. I should need to convert back over to Ethereum or to something else. I actually sold. I finally sold my Sappy Seal. I bought it at 0.4, sold at 1.2 or 1 point something like that, ETH. And I was stoked to get that sell because it looked like that was around the resistance for Sappy Seals. And the only reason I sold, even though I think it could go higher, is because I'm a bit worried about what kind of order / cycle we're going to look at and what we could be seeing. Is NFTs even going to have a real pop? Was this more of just like a little bit of an extra push and then they're going to pretty much go back into hibernation forever? Will they come before Ethereum pumps? If nothing pumps, will NFTs go crazy? Like, I'm trying to figure out what it is. So I needed to de-risk a little bit because I had a few other NFTs that I've thrown in some money. So anyways, that's kind of where I'm at with it. I would love to talk about Solana. I've actually got a bunch of NFTs on Solana. So
let me give the bear case to that total chart just in case.
Oh, okay, please. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to pull up your chart Spitz, or are you good?
Yeah. If you want to just flip me over to the chart. Yeah.
Sure. All right, let's jump into it.
And this is, again, like, this is just speculating. I think we forget that when we're calling for upside targets, that's speculation. When we're calling for downside targets, it's also speculation. The difference is that depending on where the larger trend is, if you're in an uptrend, you're in a downtrend, then it's more maybe data driven. Like you're trying to extract some knowledge or some value based on the current information that you have. Downside is always easier because you have history. Upside's a little harder when you're in price discovery because what do you go off of? You've got nothing to go off of. So when you're still range bound or you still have overhead levels, it is way easier. Once you get into price discovery, it's a whole different game. But so this is BTC divided by a combination of S&P and NASDAQ basically. And so when you're looking at it compared to this, so it's basically Bitcoin against like TradFi, right? And if you notice, all it's done so far really is just trap these prior 2021 highs. And, there's an argument to be made that basically Bitcoin had underperformed against traditional markets until just recently when it broke above this, because you would have been better off actually being in traditional markets of being a BTC or holding it from 2021 till now in that sense, right? We just got back to these prior levels. So I think that that's interesting to look at. When you look at BTC against gold, this one is interesting as well. BTC against gold just finally had gotten above the high just to fail and basically reject against gold, right? So I think that this is an interesting way to look at it as well. You can also put this ascending channel here. The way I draw my channels throws people off sometimes, but what I'm doing is I'm looking for volatility range. I'm not looking for like, how does the channel look the cleanest? I'm trying to identify where's the recent volatility. And the way I do that is I grab the two most recent significant highs on an ascending channel. And then I try and find where in the bottom can I intersect the bottom that represents most of the volatility. And usually it's your most recent bodies, right? So that would be here, which is why I have this channel drawn this way as opposed to like trying to fit it somewhere here in the middle or something like that. It wouldn't make sense. So for me, like this was a key swing up, and then these were key because in the midst of that downtrend, this was the first relief that we technically got. So, but even if you ignore the channel, the fact is we just now we're trying to get above the prior all-time high for Bitcoin when measured against gold, and we just rejected epically, right? So it could mean either BTC is going to start showing some weakness, or it could mean that gold's about to start showing some strength, or it could be a combination or a mixture of both. The other one that I just was looking at, and this is the one that I was asking ASX about on the Wolf stream, and that's this one right here, which is Bitcoin divided by the US 10-year over the 2-year, right? So the yield curve. Look at this one. What are we just back up at again? We're back up at resistance. So this was 2017. This was 2022. This was 2024 this year. So we're back up near the top of this channel against the yield curve, basically. So I thought this one was interesting as well. So there are some signs, Kate. I mean, we can't say that there are zero signs that we are in a place where I don't know that I'd be advising new people to be buying heavy here. Yeah, it just doesn't seem like to me. Now, if you bought in early and you're holding, well, then you're probably still fine, right? Depending on where you got in. But this is definitely saying, hey, there's some reasons to not ignore that maybe we're at a key resistance, or we're at a level that really needs to get broken significantly with some strength to give us confidence that this is going to go quite a bit.
Do you think
higher.
bad price is shorting right now?
I don't know. I don't know
Calvin?
what bad prices do it.
Calvin might be.
We know that Calvin is, and I think you have two camps right now. You have like the camp that Lady Trader's in, and I think Black Widow's in as well, which is we're just going to follow the 4-year historical trend. And I think there's obviously a lot of value in that, because history is what it is. It's all we can really reference on these charts is the historical data. But I am also a huge believer that most trends and most patterns only repeat up to a certain point, and then there's enough attention to that edge that it's no longer an edge, right? So, and then that could be the case to what's happening on Sol. So maybe that's a segue on how we get over to the Sol conversation.
Sure, let's do it.
Dom, did you want to jump in on anything there?
Oh no. Overall, I think that looking, if anyone's watching, what Bits is looking at there is he's denominating Bitcoin and other things rather than the dollar, and that's a really useful thing, because that's an edge in itself, because not many people look at those charts. So all that confluence he's showing there is super, super valuable. So if anyone's curious, where you enter your ticker in TradingView, you could use, you could add stuff, you could divide stuff. So
subtract, mix and match. Yeah, you can do all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And not many people know about that, but it is super, super useful. So yeah, we could segue into the Solana combo.
Cool. Well, first off, I just saw the title, Cade, by the way. I love how you clickbaited everyone with the title.
You had to, bro.
That's
bunch of people watching. It works.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, Solana Maxis. You're not puppet anymore. That's the top.
Oh, this guy. Then they're going to blame me for your title, man.
Exactly. Perfect, bro. You're going to get more
hate
haters.
the bear. Nah, look, I don't think Sol looks horrible. And I truly don't have anything against Sol. But what I discovered, and I don't know, Cade, when did I start talking about this? Maybe 2 months ago or something like that?
It's, to be fair, you did make, I have no idea what your thoughts are exactly today, but it's been a while. I mean, you did talk about this a good bit ago.
Yeah, one day I think, and look, to be honest, I think I paired XRP or something against Solana one day just to see if there was something there, because I think there was like a group of Solana maxis that were just trashing XRP. No, it was Cardano. It was Cardano was the first one. I had a whole bunch of Solana people that were just trashing Cardano. Damn. And I'm like, you know what? Let me pair Cardano against Solana just to see what it looked like. And then, so I threw my chart up, right? And, hold on. I have this on linear. So I then got the chart out and I'm like, all right, let's pair Solana and Cardano. And I saw this thing playing out like when it was like back here, I think, right? Like it's still, I think it had touched up here, but it was either on this dip here or it was right before that. And I was like, man, this thing looks like there could be a channel building, which means we could be running out of steam, which means there's probably going to be a rotation here happening, right? And what it did is it got me started on this track of, I'm going to measure everything against Solana. Solana's done like over, I think it's done like almost 3,000%, or is it over 3,000% from the lows? It's outperformed absolutely everything. So I was like, okay, we normally measure alts against BTC or against ETH. Why are we not measuring them against Solana? Like if your alt is going to run, it would need to outperform against Solana. It's been the strongest mover. And so it got me started on this whole track of just like Solana is the measure. And it's not to poo-poo on Solana. It's just to say, hey, when you're the top dog, you measure everything against the top dog. Like it's how it works, right? So Solana set the record. Now we have to measure everything against that record. And so what I started noticing here, and obviously this move played out, was that I was expecting that things are going to start moving to the bottom of the channel here against Solana. And so I went through and I did everything. I did like Solana against BTC, against ETH. I did the Sol Solana, and look, it's moving down. Same. I did it against gold. I did against Litecoin. And I still think this one's actually playing out right now. So Litecoin, this is a very interesting one. This was where it first established its high before rotating, and then we got back up here. So I started paying attention. It's like, okay, we're putting in some tops. I drew this channel, and we were at the top of this. We weren't quite over it. I think we were here maybe on this green bar, And I started paying attention and saying, okay, what would it look like if we moved down to the bottom of the channel the same way we did back here in 2022 and 23? And so back here, you saw basically Litecoin gain value against Solana. That's what this move down is, right? When it's moving down here, because we're denominating in Litecoin, that means Solana is losing value against Litecoin, whereas here Solana is gaining value against Litecoin, right? Because this is what you're dividing by. You're dividing by LTC. Excuse me. So basically up here, you were at 1.27. Litecoin would buy you 1 Solana back here in 2021, right? Whatever the values of those two assets were, you'd have to look that up separately. But if you had 1.27 Litecoin, it was equal to 1 Solana. And then at the bottom, when we got to the bottom of this channel here, it went as low as 0.12 Litecoin would buy you 1 Solana. That same Solana was worth so much less. It ended up finding a floor here at about 0.17. And this was when Solana really started gaining some traction. So I think it was October of 2023 or so, where October, September, somewhere in here, where Sol just started like ripping against everything. Solana was just ripping against absolutely everything right around this part, right? And so what I noticed was also that if you put it on a 1 week time frame, this 21 exponential moving average was like a good way to just measure the strength of the trend. What do you notice since this green bar? If you pay attention, we never break this 21 EMA. Even with these little moves down, it would sit on it. It would sit on it. It would sit on it, but it never broke it. So that told me that once we got a break of that, it was going to signal weakness. And sure enough, you got your break here. And, when I drew this, I did expect that we would get a move down, but at some point we'd come back up and back test, because that's what happened here is you broke down and then you had like a back test, try to reclaim it, and then you continued the rally down. I think that's what Sol is potentially going to do. Whether it gets much above this or whether it rejects right at it, I don't know. But I am expecting Solana is going to maybe gain some of that market share back for a little bit. And then if this is going to repeat, again, I don't have a crystal ball, but if this is going to repeat and we're going to move back to the bottom of this channel, I would suspect that if you do get a rejection here, you get a failure to reclaim above this 21 EMA, it is going to move down to the bottom of this channel or very near to it, which would mean that we'd be back at a quarter Litecoin per Solana. So that tells a story. Either Litecoin is about to absolutely crush and just rally like we haven't seen in a long time to get up to the place where a quarter Litecoin is worth 1 Solana, or we're about to see Solana underperform massively and potentially go to the downside to equal some kind of ratio like that. I'll let Dom chime in there with any comments or any questions.
So I definitely think that Bits is onto something. That Solana. I don't know if you want to switch over to my screen here, Cade.
Oh yeah, my bad.
but yeah, Solana is, from the lows, obviously right after the FTX collapse, Solana reached about 3,200%. So, it was by far the best performing large cap or even mid cap. I don't think anything came close.
Nothing came close to it.
Yeah, nothing came close to it at all. So, seeing this type of weakness compared to the rest of the market, I don't find it too alarming, but I do think that money flows around, and we see that all the time where money flows to Bitcoin, it'll flow to certain sectors, it keeps flowing around. And I still believe that I think that Solana, I don't think that it's got much gains left, but I do still think as long as Bitcoin and the rest of the market, obviously, because, the market's in lockstep right now, I do still see Solana probably breaking its all-time high, but that does not mean it's going to outperform other coins, because, there's times where Bitcoin dominance is dropping, and Bitcoin dominance in 2021, it had a really large drop, but it actually went higher. We could even kind of go over it right here. This is kind of where in 2021, this is kind of right when alt season happened, and right when we hit that there, I was kind of keeping an eye. It was a big Fibonacci level, and we actually hit it perfectly. And as of right now, that is the local top. But if I throw over Bitcoin on here, we could see that Bitcoin did still go higher right here, even though it only went a little bit higher. It did still go higher, even though the dominance was, everything was outperforming it. So that's kind of my view on Sol right now. And the reason why is I like to use VWAPs. VWAPs, I think, are a really good way to kind of look at the average positioning, where everybody's average position is, because it takes into account volume.
Yep.
Moving averages are obviously great, but they don't take into account volume. And two big VWAPs that I like to use is obviously the anchored yearly VWAP, so it resets every year, and I like to use a rolling VWAP of the last 12 months. And as of right now, Solana is still holding those areas very well. And one other thing I like to use is moving average bands. And as you can see, these moving average bands, obviously right at that apex right there, the bands turn green. Solana went on its crazy rally. And since then, we have held that bottom band the entire way. And as we can see, that area kind of coincides really well here. So I'm just saying in the short term, I don't think, for people that are watching, I don't think Sol's like doomed, but I definitely believe that there's better opportunities out there. Like if I had to take a guess, I'd probably say XRP outperforms Sol for the rest of this cycle.
Yeah.
And many other coins as well.
Yeah.
But just kind of a quick overview, I think that this pullback on Sol, it's definitely interesting. Obviously, we could go through many coins and they had similar pullbacks, but to tap our previous all-time high like that kind of perfectly, I don't think putting in a what is this? This would be a 3.5 year. Yeah, basically a 3-year double top. I don't find that probable personally. I personally don't find that probable. If I had to take a guess of what the next, few months of Sol is going to look like, obviously it will depend on if Bitcoin's lows in, but I could see some more chop, and then I could see one last rally to finish this off. And I think that would coincide with what Bits is saying, that most coins will probably still be outperforming Sol. But just in a basic term, I would be concerned if Sol was under 150, and that's obviously some ways to go. And, that'll probably be more alarming for the rest of the market. Bitcoin would probably be in mid 80s. We'd probably see a way different scenario, but that's kind of my short-term view on Sol. I think that, we're back into a massive supply or demand area. And one other thing I'd like to use a lot is volume profiles. So if we place one over here, we could kind of see that it just retested the value area high of this entire consolidation structure, because in the summer, Sol actually outperformed well. A lot of coins were breaking down heavy. Most altcoins got rinsed 60-70%. And I remember watching this and I'm like, when is this $100 support going to break? The more times you touch a level, the more likely it's going to break. But of course, Sol held that level. And I think coming back into this demand area, we could see there's a lot of volume here. I think that Sol probably is going to do something like this, obviously depending on Bitcoin. And I think we get one more push into mid 300s, potentially touch 400. And I think that would wrap it up for Sol. I don't think there's enough juice left in the tank for Sol, just because of how much it got rinsed because of FTX, going down 97%. I mean, down here, if you were on at this time, no one wanted to buy Sol. Everyone was calling Sol dead. And of course, as we saw, it outperformed nearly everything. So those are my short-term thoughts. So yeah, pass it back.
Yeah, I saw a comment that says the pump came from people loving it, not from a Sol LTC chart. Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm not saying that the relationship with Litecoin had anything to do with it. That when you're doing these pairings, it's not a causation. It's not that one thing causes another. It's just saying, hey, I noticed that when the sun is out, I don't need to wear a jacket. It's more that type of relationship, right? It's understanding that it's not that, because I didn't wear a jacket today, the sun is warm. It's just saying that there's a relationship there. And when I look at these, you learn value plays, just like you can trend real estate against the S&P or real estate against commodities or anything else to find edge on when the best time to buy real estate is. That's how this happens. And look, it's not limited to Sol or to Litecoin. Here's Solana against total. Oops, I didn't mean to draw that. Here's Solana against total 3, which is all altcoins except for or all crypto except for BTC and ETH. Let me turn off the VRVP. There we go. So when and this kind of paints a very, very clean picture. Same thing we were seeing with the Litecoin chart. Solana from 2021 up here, right, was basically underperforming most crypto. Okay, that's what this means. You were better off almost holding most of other things except Solana. And you can say, oh, that was because of FTX and all that. Yes, I understand that real world things are what cause price to move, right? Positive things, negative things, insider information, sentiment. There's a lot of things that'll move these charts, right? Psychology. But it doesn't change the fact that you can look at this and you can draw real data from it. Just like we have a real data of when's the, like if this was the dollar versus the euro chart, it's like the euro isn't pumping because the dollar went up or in that sense directly. Like there's things that cause the dollar to go up, therefore it went up against the euro, right? It's always a little bit deeper than just on the surface level. But same thing applies here. You know, Solana was basically underperforming, and then we saw a massive shift happen right here in around September of last year, right? What was that? That's when Solana started to massively outperform against just about everything else. This chart shows that clearly. It's above this EMA. It never falls below it, doesn't close below it, right? And then all of a sudden you have a massive change in trend here where now for the first time in over 12 months, you're not just breaking slightly below this, you're freaking free falling below this EMA. So you can't tell me that there's not a change in trend, in sentiment, and in the data. Something clearly has changed that suddenly a trend that you had not broken in 12 months is now getting broken. So you can look at Solana against total 3. You can look at Solana against just total in itself. It'll tell a similar story. This is against all of crypto. Same thing. What are you seeing? It's losing momentum and edge against the broader crypto market in a way that it had not done for over 12 months. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not negative on Solana, but I am recognizing that trends like this, when you have big outputs of strength and momentum, it does run out of gas at some point, and that's what's happening here. And if it were to drop, it could have about a 60%, you know, from there. It's obviously moved a little bit now, but from current levels, if it were to continue, you're looking at about still a 50% loss against the broader crypto market. Doesn't mean it's a direct loss in the value of Solana. It just means that the greater market can outperform Solana to this degree, right? So, and if look, if invert the chart, does that not look like it had bottomed? I mean, you want to talk about bias. Does that not look like we would have been buying that bottom? And you're clearly look at this. Okay. You want to talk about just structure? Tell me this little flip that we're seeing here is not a change in structure. You have a prior high. We've now broken a prior high. So you had lower highs and lower lows, and now we are putting in what? A higher high compared to this high. Structure has changed. That's the inverted chart, right? If you can't look at it unbiased and just recognize that something has changed and we've lost the floor here, then invert it. Invert it and look at it the other way. This is clearly a change in structure. So the question is going to be, is it going to come back down and reclaim the trend? It would have to do something similar to that, right? It'd have to come back below it, hold it again as resistance there, or in the standard chart, hold it again as support and continue higher. Otherwise, what this could be doing is you could be, deleting these drawings. What it could be doing is it could be breaking above, coming back for a back test, and then just continuing, which is actually it continuing to drop against the broader crypto market. So yeah, none of this is bias. I'm a trader. At the end of the day, I don't care if they go up or down. You know, my bias on what I think is sustainable long-term and what's going to provide value long-term is totally separate from what I'm speaking here. I'm speaking purely technical analysis, data-driven, only looking at the chart, right? I'm not considering whose founder is better. I'm not considering which platform is getting more users or has the best apps. I'm just saying these charts are giving us some information that if you look at it objectively and just recognize, okay, what are these charts trying to tell us? They're telling a story. They're telling that this was Solana's moment where it shined and nothing else could touch it, and something is starting to change and has changed. That's what this chart is showing here.
Dang. All right. Dom, would love to get some thoughts from you. Also, and I'll pull up your chart here. Mike Mack in the house. How's it going, Mike? He's asking about the Solana ETF. So maybe we can incorporate that in the answer and then hear what Biz has to say as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think one thing I forgot to mention, and I don't know if many people are talking about this, but Solana actually has a pretty big unlock happening in March of next year. I'm pretty sure it's about 2.5% of the supply, might be a little bit more. So, that causes a little bit of an overhang. For example, something like Celestia, TIA, that had a lot of VC locked tokens. And this is something that people don't necessarily look at. And for anyone that's watching, it's probably just a good little lesson I want to share here. Something here is here's Filecoin. And this coin, obviously, it's not talked about much anymore, but a lot of people looked at this chart and they said, wow, look at how much Filecoin has to go back up to its previous high. Look, we got 5,000%. But little did, most people realize is that something like Filecoin, it actually had just massive amount of supply pouring into these, into the total available circulating supply. So that was just diluting the price. And if you look at the market cap chart here, you could see that it actually only has 380% to go up to where it was in 2021 compared to 5,000%. So I just wanted to mention that because with Sol, we're not looking at any crazy dilution, but to keep in mind that there is a massive unlock happening, and there's a good chance that a lot of people are going to be dumping those tokens on the market. If those coins have been locked for a long time, I think that there's a good chance that those coins do get dumped. And just to touch on what Bits has been talking about, this is basically the name of the game in crypto, is finding the rotations. And that's exactly what Bits is talking about here. Is you need to be watching what's outperforming what. And the best way to do that is to basically compare them to the rest of the rest of the market or different coins. And I'm fully in line with what he's saying here, that you've been better off since, here's a good example. This is Sol Dominance, just comparing it to everything else. Since November, since the election, you were better off holding, a lot of other coins than Sol. And I think that, you can't be upset about that. You could just realize that this game is a game of rotations, and the people who play these rotations right are the ones who are going to make out the best in this market. And it's became really tricky to kind of time these rotations, but the way that you kind of denominate the coins compared to other things, not just looking compared to Bitcoin or Ethereum, that's kind of how that's how you're going to outperform just the overall market or Bitcoin. And I think that if we look at Sol Dominance here, we had a beautiful ascending channel, and just kind of going along with everything, it's obviously broken. There's a clear trend change that Solana outperformed for a long time, and it no longer is. So as I said before, I don't think that means that Solana's price has topped, but I do think that you're better off holding other coins. So if I had to just make a guess, I would believe that the top is probably in for Sol Dominance. If we see something like this and Sol gets one last push at the last of this cycle, I still don't see, it's probably bold for me to say, but I don't think Sol Dominance would probably make a new high. And one other one to look at is Sol Ethereum. Obviously, that was kind of the big talk of this cycle, is Sol outperformed Ethereum heavily. And this is a similar way. I think that Ethereum's at a point where it's probably logical that Ethereum is probably going to outperform Sol going forward. So yeah, those are kind of just my main thoughts about it. I think that, if you're holding Sol, I still have Sol. I was very lucky to accumulate very low after the FTX crash, but that doesn't mean that your bags are doomed. I think that we still follow the rest of the market. We need to keep eyes on Bitcoin. We need to keep eyes on the total market cap, but I think that there's definitely other opportunities if you're a trader. This is a lot about being a trader, and I know not everyone watching here is a trader, but I do just think that keeping our eyes on stuff like this, it's as traders, it's a super important thing to do. And if we look at Sol XRP here, here's a great example.
This was a violent chart.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. So if you go back, over a year ago, if someone said, hey, what's a better investment, Sol or XRP? And you told them XRP, they probably would have laughed at you. But guess what? It was right. It was right. At this time right now, you would have been better off buying XRP a year ago. Wow. And it kind of just goes back to what we're saying here. If you're a trader and you're trying to maximize your gains, you need to be kind of playing the rotations. And it doesn't mean that you need to be upset that your bags, something's outperforming your bags. I just think that it's part of the game. And everyone's not a trader, but if you want to fully maximize your potential in this market, you definitely need to be denominating and looking at what's outperforming what.
Well, and I think you're nailing it, Dom, in saying that it's about the rotation. right? And Kate, if you flip me over to my screen,
Yep.
I want to just highlight something, right?
Definitely.
And I'll use a Sol Cardano chart as the example here for this, right? But when I first started talking about this, it wasn't to say that Sol price drives Cardano price, or Cardano price drives the Sol price. Is just to say that these were two coins with big holder bases, and there was clearly some kind of relationship here. And I think one thing to call out is if you are trying to accumulate more wealth over time, this chart also tells you when the time to buy ADA and when the time to buy SOL is, if these are two coins that are maybe in your portfolio. So if you're 50-50 in these coins per se, just to use easy numbers, there are periods where it makes more sense to maybe go 80-20, one way. Like down at the bottom of this channel, you want to be heavily in Solana, even if you still keep some of your Cardano. When this starts trending up, your Cardano is not gaining in value the way the Solana is. So you're better off being in the higher performing asset. So you can use these pairings between the coins that you're crazy about and you want to accumulate to find out where you should be allocating heavier. Like this could be Sol Caspa, this could be Sol BTC, this could be anything. And it's just going to tell you that there's periods of time where you want to be maybe in an alt or in BTC. And then there's periods of time when you want to be more heavily in Solana. And that's all this is telling you. It's not, I think in crypto, we have like this, this tendency to really find like our camp and become really divisive and tribal about stuff. But like the name of the game is just understanding where's the liquidity moving and what's going to move faster and stronger, so you can be positioned accordingly. And that's all this was saying. So when you're looking at Sol versus ADA, or you're looking at Sol versus Link, or even I think I have Near on here as well.
Oh, hey, we should pull up Near. I'd be interested to see what you guys think, because you pulled up that chart and said, hey, you got 5,000%, and you're like, actually, not 5,000%, actually closer to 300.
Yeah, look, this was the XRP chart, just as an example, right? So Dom showed this one, but all this basically says is that when you were up here near the top, you probably could have de-risked and you should have started considering buying some XRP. And then XRP went on its crazy rally. If you wanted to get rid of that XRP because you hate it, you would now be able to buy more Solana for that same capital. That the same Solana that you converted up here to XRP would buy you substantially more Solana today if you were to sell it back into Sol. So that's what this is. If you understand this, this will help you grow your Solana bags bigger, your Bitcoin bags bigger, whatever you want to grow, because you're understanding the rotation of this. But yeah, let's pull up the Near one, for example. Let's just do Near there. So this is Near, and if you invert it, this is what it looks like. If you're measuring Near in Solana, and this is if you're measuring Solana in Near, you just got to change the order of them over here. So if you wanted to do, and actually, I think I have this one in this tab. Give me one sec. So if I did Near USDT divided by Sol USDT, and then I think I used the Binance pairs. Yeah, this is the one. Give me a sec. I got too many layouts, but this is this is Near denominated in Solana, right? So it's priced here in Solana. 0.028 Solana buys you one Near, right? Currently. As if it moves back to the top of this channel, or even just this little like resistance range, right? I expect there to be maybe some hesitation here. It could get sticky. Suddenly, from needing 0.028 Solana to buy one Near, you're going to need almost 0.1 Solana to buy that same Near, right? So that's what this is telling you here. So and clearly you can see that this is trying to bottom here. It's trying to figure out what it's doing. Could this, if this fails here, where's my brush? If this fails and it ends up coming back down, then okay, maybe something still isn't ready yet. But if this here starts finding some support, then I suspect this is going to play out exactly as I have it here, which means that basically Near is going to gain almost 200% when measured against Solana.
Wow.
So it's just a different way to look at it, man. Yeah, it's just a different way to look at it. And you can, I mean, one of the interesting ones is even if you just do BTC, I don't think a lot of people are measuring their BTC with Sol as the denominator. But if you do BTC denominated in Solana, you could see that Bitcoin hadn't even really broke out against Solana. It'd been kind of just going sideways against Solana. But now look, it's starting to finally break out and gain some momentum against Solana. So that's why I do these pairings, is because they can give you an edge. Look, I mean, since December of 2023, Bitcoin hadn't gained anything on Solana, really. It was losing against Solana. But now what has happened? Now, if you zoom in, structure is changing. Suddenly, this high that we have here, we're now above it. So we're now putting in a higher high. So something is changing here. We even actually are above this high over here as well. So we're now getting above this as well, right? So definitely Bitcoin is now starting to outperform against Solana, which is like who's really measuring their Bitcoin against Solana? I don't know, but it's interesting to look at. It's just another measure.
Yeah. Wow. Dang, dude. Dom, any thoughts on this, dude?
Yeah, no, not too much. Just kind of just reiterating the same concept that, looking at these coins in something other than a US dollar, which just stays at one, it's, it can create a significant edge. So if you guys are watching this and if you guys are traders, it's definitely something to create watch lists like Bits has. And, you could basically create any symbol and it'll give you an edge in this market, in my opinion. As long as you execute it properly, it's going to give you an edge. But yeah, just to throw up near here, the inflation on near was not as bad, but still a similar concept. As we can see, if I throw this over to a line chart as well, we could see that the near's market cap to its high is only a 96%, but near's price to its high is 300%. So what happened there is over the last 3 years, more near entered the supply. So it kind of diluted near. And I think that this happens to a lot of tokens. And just going back to the Solana unlock, very small unlock, but it's an overhang that a lot of people probably should be, considering in the back of their mind. And someone asked about the ETF. I feel like I could be completely wrong, but I feel like there could be a point that the Solana ETF, with the timelines it's on, it might be launching at a bad time. I don't necessarily think we're going to see crazy inflows into Solana because of the time. I could be completely wrong by this, but I'm pretty sure that that deadline is sometime Q1, Q2 next year. And I just feel like it might just be a little too late for what this cycle is looking like. So, I won't put too much weight onto that. And the best example is look at Ethereum. Look at Ethereum's performance. Right. It's pretty embarrassing, to be honest. Ethereum's performance. It's just
Dom. Are you a crypto's going to top in Q4 guy, or are you a crypto's topping in like Q1 guy?
I'm a crypto's topping in Q1, Q2 guy. Okay. I don't believe that there's enough steam unless we get some drastic fundamental change, like a Bitcoin strategic reserve is announced, or something like that. I personally don't think there's enough steam. And kind of the seasonality, I don't know if anyone talks about seasonality, but it's been a pretty good thing to sell in May and walk away. It's actually been a very good thing throughout these bull markets. I guess maybe 2017, it even worked in 2017 a little bit, even though we did go higher towards the end of the year. But in my honest opinion, I think that this market is going to put in at least a multi-month top by April. That's my prediction. April, March. I think that the summer's probably going to be slow, and then potentially, I know Lady Trader, she believes that we'll rally into the end of next year. And she's not wrong to think that. That's perfectly going off of cycles, though. If you kind of measure the exact time that it took for Bitcoin to do this cycle and that cycle and this cycle, that's kind of what it is. And I could throw this up real quick just to finish off here, if anyone's curious why, that if this loads here, what's going on here? 1 second.
Really enjoyed having you on the spaces though, and even this stream, I'm having a lot of fun.
Absolutely, yeah, love chatting about it, 100%. But yeah, if anyone's curious, this is kind of what
nice
Lady Trader's idea is. I posted this September of last year, and obviously, it's kind of in line. And that's kind of just, it doesn't show the date, but that's probably Q4 of next year. And that's why many people believe we're going to top it.
Oh, wow.
But I'm more under the impression that we're probably going to see something like, as long as, this market continues the way it's been. I think that we're probably going to see something that finishes off by March, April. if we continue to consolidate, whatever, I think that we're kind of at that point in this kind of bull trend that we're in that parabolic stage. And if I had to make a prediction, I don't think that this market's going to go higher Q4. I think that the top will be put in by summer. So,
well, for Bitcoin or for altcoins, like one thing I hear from a lot of beginners is they're like, okay, Bitcoin pumps, then ETH, then altcoins, then like everyone, like that's the cycle. But they're like, but at what point? Like if Bitcoin puts in a top and everything crashes, they're like, doesn't altcoins crash? Like at what point do the altcoins actually run is what I'm hearing a lot from altcoin moon boys,
Yeah, it's a great question, actually. I wanted to mention this on the space, but it's an absolute great question. Here, I'll just try to show it real quick here. Basically, when Bitcoin puts in that last, so this was kind of the accumulation. Bitcoin put in distribution here. Bitcoin topped right here. And on that first leg down, you see altcoins rallied and went way higher than the previous peak. That happened perfectly in 2017 as well. So if we see Bitcoin put in its high, on the first leg down, and then Bitcoin bounced, alts went crazy. So I don't know if that's going to repeat, but that would probably be my best guess to know.
Notice in both of those though that when Bitcoin comes up to do that second or that first lower high, like that is the time to get out of altcoins and out of the market.
That is 100% right. So I don't know if that's going to repeat, but for everyone watching, yes, this has been a repeating thing that's happened where Bitcoin puts in a top, it kind of bounces a little bit, but does not go higher. And throughout that bounce, you see altcoins going way higher. The exact thing happened in the 2021 accumulation structure. And I actually, this would open up a whole nother conversation, but I call this more of a fake top because most altcoins actually topped right here.
Yep.
Wow.
And we actually saw the same exact thing. Bitcoin put in its top right here. The first leg down, altcoins rallied and went way higher. So if that happens, that will 100% be, I will be screaming, this is the top, because that'll be too hard.
I'm literally going to rely on you guys to tell me if you're like, actually, hey, we need to seriously really think about taking profits. We better hear it loud and clear.
So totally. Well, if we get that scenario, I will 100% be sticking by my word. I just don't know if the ETFs have changed that type of thing. Because as Bit said, these cycles have been too easy, and I think it's too naive to think that they're going to continue to be this easy.
That's why I keep pairing them against like so many other instruments and so many other things to look at, just because I don't trust that it's going to be easy that way. I just doesn't, from a very common sense perspective, there's no way that all these rich TradFi bankers and stuff are going to pump all of our bags as much as we think they are. Like we're obviously ahead of them, so we have an advantage, but they're going to find some way to gain an edge against all the existing crypto participants, in my opinion. So who knows? We'll see what ends up happening, but I agree with, I like that Dom called that one the second top, the fake top, because that's one of those things that if you were measuring BTC against gold or against, SPY or NASDAQ or anything, the true top was that first one. The second top, which went higher, it was divergent in every way that you could be divergent. And it actually, against most other metrics, it did not put in a higher high. So only in USD. So yeah, exactly. Very interesting.
But yeah, just one thing to finish off here, Cade. I think that, many people, they want to talk about an alt season, and they're wondering, when is alt season? When is alt season? This is one of my favorite pairings right here. This is basically looking at the altcoin dominance, taking out the two main stable coins. And if you can see here, we haven't seen anything that we saw in 2021. This was 2021's alt season. And look in comparison, right when we had that little alt season the last few weeks, it's already came back almost all the way down. So just for everyone watching as well, I'm not convinced we're going to see a 2021 style alt season. And the main reason why is because a lot of the liquidity that's entered this space is now fixed in the ETFs, in my opinion. And a lot of that money in the last cycle was not fixed in ETFs, where you can't just flow it into dog with hat and Doge and whatever else, XLM, SHIB. So that's just one other thing I'm watching here. I don't think that this is done. I believe that we'll put in one more leg, but this kind of goes back to what I was saying about when the top will be if we see anything like this in altcoins, in and especially if Bitcoin's not making a new high, that'll
Mhm.
be my trigger to say this market is done for some time, and I will be, slowly exiting all my positions. So if anyone's curious, no, we have not seen a true alt season, but I hate to say it, and I don't think we're going to see the alt seasons we have in the past. I just don't, there's too much dispersion now. There's too many coins. There's not enough liquidity, in my opinion. So that doesn't mean alts aren't going to have a little alt season, but I don't think it's going to be 2021 style.
That is another conversation that almost deserves its own day. But the fragmentation that happens now in the markets, where to Dom's point, like, back then you had a handful of memes that people were buying, and now you've got thousands of them, right?
Yeah. I have no idea what to expect this cycle. I think I think there will be plenty of.
I think Cade, if you're a holder, if you're not trading, then you hold, right? Like we hold until the market puts in a confirmed top or shows, substantial exhaustion or shows a significant trend change. You just hold. If you're just holding spot, you just hold through this. If you're a trader, though, I think you have to. There's some little shifts you can make in the way you're looking at the market to try and keep an edge against the market. That's the other thing, and I'd be curious what Dom thinks, but I also think that the fact that we have so much content like this now, where for the last 5 years plus, people have been streaming TA. Most of the guys that are in here, even if they don't trade, they understand how to read a chart and some of the basics. They might understand like an EMA or a trend line, or how to do like a basic fib pool or something. What that does, though, is that increases the likelihood that these trends don't repeat, and that what you call an edge is no longer an edge. Too many people know about it. Too many people are looking at it to sell at the same place you're looking to sell. Too many people are looking to buy at the same place you're looking to buy. So they start front running the buys and the sells, and it starts left translating and changing everything. And that's why sometimes these trends, like you don't see the historical thing repeat as much, because we're pricing it in anticipation. How many people nowadays know that you get buy the rumor, sell the news, and so therefore they sell early, and then they cause the dump, which then cascades into more people selling, and it's like this self-fulfilling prophecy thing that we're all just playing in. So
but is that the cycle? Like, is that because of all that it follows historical data?
I don't know. Maybe, I don't have a crystal ball, man. I don't know. I'm just out here speculating like everyone and trying to gain a personal edge, man. It's all I'm trying to do.
Exactly. Dom, I was going to say to both of you guys, if you want to pull up any other charts or look at anything else, happy to. I don't have like a hard stop unless you guys do. So I'm down to run a few more minutes if you guys want. But yeah, if you guys want to pull up anything in particular that was interesting, happy to roll with it.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is, like, I've been watching this BTC trend, and actually, here's a different way to draw it. Hold on, let me hide this one. Hold on, where's my stuff here? Okay, so this was something that I was looking for a little while now. And I'm wondering if it's not what we're getting, but there's this channel and we're back at the top again. I had drawn these little squiggles a while ago where I was kind of expecting price to maybe start exhausting a little bit, and it's extended past that. But I'm still not ruling out that we do a pullback to this prior range high. And this is like the absolute, you don't like, if we're going to continue to Q4, you do not want to miss an entry like this. If we get a pullback on BTC down here to the March highs, like, this is back up the truck territory.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so I'm watching this, like, I thought my little squiggles would play out by now. It's ran a little longer. It might not happen, or maybe that pullback is just to like here, maybe even just a slightly lower where we're at right now. But if we get one to down here, this is going to be the moneymaker. If you can get a pullback here, I'd say the same thing.
Isn't it crazy? We were just there. Like, we were literally just there being like, oh, I don't know if I want to buy. And now we're at 100K. And now we're like, oh, dude, if we get it at this range, you'll be so lit.
Well, what changes, though, is I guess to answer that question, because you're aware I took a lot of profits back here, and I mostly exited the market here and just sat out for all of this. And I've been sidelined for most of this in BTC. I positioned in a lot of alts during this chop, and I caught some alt volume up. Yeah. But BTC, I'm sidelined, right? And so people are like, well, why would you buy again here if you sold back here? And the answer to that is risk management. The answer to that is, it's not the same thing to buy. Like, the price might be similar, but the conditions and the time of the market was different. Here we were approaching prior all-time highs, which at that time there was no history above that. It basically, this area up here had only been resistance. All we had ever done historically was sell off at these levels. It made sense for me to de-risk up here. Now we're above that. Things have changed. We've proven that we can get above it. So if I get a pullback into a level of that is here in that range of the prior all-time highs, it's under a whole different context, man. It's totally different context, right? So it's not the dollar that matters as much as the conditions under which you hit these levels, right? So for example, here's a real easy way to say it. If I told you, if we're a bunch of swimmers and we're swimming here, and I tell you that this up here is shark infested waters. Every time swimmers get up here, they all die. Every single time they all die. Am I going to go into this expecting to be the guy that's going to live? Or am I going to wait for a guy to live and then say, okay, I'm willing to swim now that this guy has survived? That's the way to look at that. That's risk management, right? This was resistance before. This was shark infested waters. You did not want to be buying up here. You wanted to get the hell out up here. Now that we've proven that something has changed, if we go back there, I'm willing to play. That's what's changed.
That's great. That's a great explanation for anybody interested in learning to trade. That's a great explanation. Yeah, it's all stuff, dude. Dom, curious if you want to leave us with anything, or if you think that if you're happy with what you've already kind of shown us in the charts, but I figure you probably have something.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that, we definitely went over a good amount of things. There's a million things we could talk about. There's so many different avenues that we could kind of branch off to. But as Bits was saying, I definitely am under the impression that we can't rely on these cycles as we have. In 2021, they were such a good, perfect, kind of roadmap. I used them so perfectly. And that's because, the market wasn't as mature as it is now. With all this ETF inflow capital, with how many eyes that are on the crypto space, I don't believe that it's going to follow these cycles anymore. And I've already had it proven perfectly. And one of the best, reasons was that Bitcoin hit an all-time high before its halving. This was the first time that happened. So Bitcoin's halving in April, that it breached its all-time high. Yes, just by a few $1,000s, but that never happened before. And that was kind of the first example that this cycle was not the same. So I think using that, should be in your back of your mind that you cannot rely on this historical data the same way we have, unfortunately, because the game was really easy last cycle. But I think that this game is a lot harder now. And it's just because the market's maturing. And I think that this is what we've always wanted. So it's not a bad thing, but it means you need to adapt. And I think that's a big takeaway here. And just for my final short-term thoughts, I think that if the total market cap loses its previous all-time high, I'm going to be a lot more defensive. I will be a lot more defensive in the short term, because just in my eyes, with this big of a level on this high of a time frame, I don't think that losing this all-time high, and I don't just mean another wick below and quickly, I mean losing it and trading below, that'll be a big risk off moment for me. And I think that will make me reevaluate what quarter one looks like. So just in my honest opinion, I think that, if Bitcoin is going to have another good quarter and, with the Trump inauguration, I don't think that it should go much lower than it did today. And one other thing, talking about VWAPs, if we put an election VWAP on here, this is anchored. This kind of shows the average positioning, average volume price since the election. We hit that perfectly today, and I don't find that to be a coincidence. And I think that losing this is also losing this. Right. So that is where I will go much more risk off. I think that will signal a much bigger trend change. I don't know if that's enough for me to say that the cycle top was secretly put in right now, but I think that just as a trader, I think that under that I would be a lot more defensive. And I think that it's a good takeaway. For anyone watching, just look at the total market cap, throw that previous high on there. I think it's a good idea to be defensive if we lose that level. And I know it's simple, but sometimes the simplest things are the most effective. But yeah, I think that's all I have. I appreciate the combo. Hope everyone enjoyed it. And
yeah,
this was fun.
Absolutely, dude. This is so much fun for me. I appreciate both of you guys coming on. If you're watching right now and you haven't already followed Bits or Dom, highly recommend you do. Just go to the title, click their names, and hit that follow button on them, and then retweet the stream also so that other people can find it. And then I'm not sure if you guys have any kind of community or paid community, but if you do, feel free to plug it. I highly recommend anyone jumps in those as well. Otherwise, yeah, fire. Cool, perfect. What day is today, bro? It's literally Friday. Oh my gosh, it's Friday afternoon. Man, dude, the vibes are about to begin. It's crazy party time. Throw all your money into alcohol and bars and yeah, definitely not. Don't do that. Buy Bitcoin. Don't buy Solana. You know, buy basically anything else apparently, right? Oh shit.
No, thanks again for the invite, man. This is a fun stream.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it. And Dom, thanks for the great back and forth. Really glad we connected, and look forward to being on spaces with you coming up. So
totally. Yeah, definitely super enjoyable. Thanks again, Cade, for the invite. Hope everyone was
100%.
watching, learned something, or saw something that might have helped them. So yeah, hope everyone has a great weekend.
Yeah, everyone have a great day. Why am I struggling to find an outro, dude? Just have an amazing day. We'll see you all later. Take care. End stream.